Hello everyone and welcome to episode 42 of Minor Innocence, covering Major Crime, Season 4, Episode 5, entitled Snitch. This episode was so long.
The longest hour ever. Which is really sad because the case was so good.
The case was incredibly good, but things happened. In this case, we had 3 people who were murdered at a party. Nobody claimed to see anything. And then Amy goes into this alleyway. She just happened to go into the alleyway. And a little girl was watching her from the window saying, I saw the whole thing. The gun is in this little crate that was beneath the house. And so on, so on, and so forth. Amy knew that this was a bad thing for this little girl to see, because she knew that the gang that had killed these people at this party, called the Monsters, that's a really lame name for a gang. Like, if you're gonna have a gang name, make it a good one, and not the Monsters, because all I kept thinking of was Space Jam. Don't look at me in that tone of voice. But that's all Amy was worried about, were the monsters going and attacking the girl, and she was the grandmother. So Amy told her, you didn't see a thing, you didn't talk to me, you don't know who I am, don't answer any questions about anything, so on, so on, so forth. So they end up fighting this one guy who's like the shot caller of the monsters. His name is Twiz. He obviously won't give anything up. He's like being super nonchalant about everything. He's just like, whatever, you know, I didn't do anything, and you can't claim that I did it, and like all this other junk, because what else do criminals do? He won't claim of anything because they were able to match the gun that Amy found with this murder that had happened at a taco truck like a week or so earlier, or a day earlier, something like that. And the guy's like, look, it's not my gun, I don't know what you're talking about. So we had that, and then the guy who had killed the people at this party ended up going back to try to find the gun, and the little girl who had saw the entire thing called Amy and is like, look, he's here, he's looking for the gun, da-da-da-da-da. And Amy gives her the number of the desk, the main desk at the police department, at the precinct, and she gives them a tip. Instead of calling like the tip hotline or whatever, she tells them that they're there. They end up bringing the guy in, and they get him to confess by making him think that Twiz was going into protective custody because he gave him up. Does that sound right?
Yeah. I mean, it was clever.
It was incredibly clever. It was Sharon's idea. Homegirl had it going on today.
She's smart.
And Andrea was back for a 5th episode in a row, which we're totally enjoying.
Can she just be in every episode this season?
She has been, so thank you. On the other hand of this case, we had Rusty, well, not even the case of the episode, we had continual shots back to Rusty during one of his therapy sessions with Dr. Joe, and it seemed to drag the entire thing down. It was about Rusty, who may or may not be dating this guy named TJ. He has feelings for him, and Dr. Joe made him not realize it, but like say that he had feelings for this guy named TJ, who's helping him find Alice Herrera. Rusty just wants to talk about Alice and get the subject off of himself, because Rusty figured out how to get her messages, which we saw last episode, and he doesn't know what to do about it, or who to tell, or if he should tell anybody. It was a constant switch back and forth between these two things.
And I think that's what made it seem so long.
It was the longest hour of this show I've ever sat through. And I don't mean that in a bad way, because like we said, we enjoyed both of these things. Like, we enjoyed the part with Rusty even, like him finding out who he is, but I felt like they stayed on it too much. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And the part with Amy was super interesting, and we love stories about Amy because we want to learn more about her and about her life before she was with the squad, and even while she's with the squad, but we weren't able to because they kept going back to Rusty.
Yeah, those scenes are definitely way too long.
They were. Like, I mean,
and maybe it would have worked better if it was it was interlocked with the case.
I mean, it kind of was, if you think about it.
I know, but I mean, like, it wasn't really.
Like, Rusty had this information that he had to sit on and not tell the cops or anybody else.
Yeah, but it had nothing to do with the case that they were working on. Not really.
No, I mean, not directly pertaining to it, no.
No, I think it would have been more interesting if it did. It just seemed like those scenes seemed like misplaced.
And then the ending, I'm not even talking about that part yet, but we had Rusty and Sharon scene finally throughout the entire thing. They saved it for the last, 6 minutes of the episode, of Rusty thanking her for, accepting him.
And how she's essentially the most important thing in his life.
No matter what he writes about, no matter what he's doing, she's the most important thing. I thought that was really sweet. And then we had Sharon walk out of her office, Rusty promising he'll meet up with her at home, and Andy stops her and asks her out on the date. On the date.
On the date.
He says this restaurant And then he says, they say it's a real romantic spot. And she's like, what? And he's like, that's what they say. It's what they say. You know, let's just go get dinner.
I will say that her reaction when she was walking away was golden. It was the best. And she was just like...
She handled it very, very well. Mary/Sharon handled it very well. And I won. I just want to say that I won.
There was no bet! The only bet that was going on was the one inside your head.
That's all I need, baby. So what did we like about this episode?
I liked the crime side in general, like the case with Amy.
Which
I like when they use Amy to this degree. Like, you don't have to do it all the time, but at least give her, like, 1 or 2 episodes a season.
Because we really like that aspect, because we want to know more about Amy.
And
we really do.
Giovanni is a really good actress.
Mm-hmm. And she handles that character and everything about her to the best of her abilities. Like, she handles her very, very well. And this was a very strong episode in terms of women. We had Andrea, we had Sharon pulling her own weight, we had... Amy doing her thing, even though she knew she was going to get in trouble for it, she still did it because she knew she was going to do it to protect the little girl.
I liked how the entire time, though, they knew
she was BSing him.
Yeah.
Like,
they knew the entire time.
The first one to realize it was Mike and Provenza. They knew something was up. Like, you wouldn't just randomly go into this alleyway, randomly find this gun, and, like, it was, like, hidden behind a trash can and a grate of a hat. Like, it was just really hidden. But I like both of these things in their separate aspects. Yes. I really liked the case, and I really liked finding out more about Rusty. I just wish there was a little bit less of Rusty and more about the case, and that they weren't mixing it in so often. 1 or 2 scenes with Rusty would have been fine. However, they did like 4 or 5 scenes at Rusty and intertwined that. That's why it made it feel like it was so long. Okay, what did we not like about it?
How long it seemed.
It dragged, but not in a bad way. It dragged because they cut away from the case so often. Mm-hmm. And like we said, the acting was great, the storylines were great, but the way they went about it was not. It just made it feel like it took forever.
I just wish they had saved his therapy session scenes for like a case when they're actually like figuring out who Alice is.
Right, but that's the thing. Like they're done with that case, so
I know,
there's
but
really
like,
nothing.
I'm just really hoping that
guy
did not kill Alice, and then somebody else gets killed, and it's linked to her case, and they.
It's a clean cut thing. They know he killed him.
I just wish
they know he killed it rather.
Or someone gets killed that's linked to Alice.
Right, like that's when they should have saved those therapy sessions for. Because it's not like we didn't want to know about them.
No.
Or TJ. We want to know about all of that. But...
Not in the way that they did it.
Not in the way they did it. Okay. What's the rate? 8. I agree. And it's not because the case was bad. It's not because the Rusty part was bad. It's because of how they blended them together.
And how long it went on.
And it felt like it went on forever.
At one point, it felt like the episode was almost over and we still had a half an hour left
we were
to
like...
go.
And I looked at the clock. I was like, it's only 9:30. What? I don't get why it felt so long. I don't understand it.
I don't either.
What are we predicting for next episode? We saw the previews. There's a murder. Fernando Morales is in it. That's his name.
First name?
That's his name, yeah.
When did they say that?
In the Rusty Back Identity videos. The latest
Wait
one.
a minute. His name's Fernando.
It's
not Jonathan DeLarco's
It's
real
Jonathan
first name.
DeLarco's real first name, yeah. Which we've waited how long to get that information?
Closer?
Since the 3rd season of The Closer when he made his entrance. You know, we'll take it.
I'm so glad you dug really deep inside yourselves to come up with a name for Morales.
It kind of goes with it, though. Fernando Morales.
But it took him that long to come up with the name that used to be Jonathan DeLarco's real name?
Yeah. Exactly.
Whatever. It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
But the Rusty Beck Identity episodes have been going really well. And if you're not following them, Rusty Beck is going to different individuals, the little close-knit group we have, and finding out more about what made them able to identify different parts of Alice. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like, the first ones... were not important. The first 2, it was like Rusty talking about what he was doing and then him talking to the guy who murdered her. And then the 3rd one was Orderno and Rusty talking about how people become missing people and, you know, all the different stuff about that. And then the 4th one was with Fernando Morales, which I'm really enjoying them. If you're not watching them, you're missing out. You find out little bits about it, like that she had a sister, or that she was abused while in foster care, or just little things, and it's really interesting. And that somebody took her in and spent a lot of money on her. And I think that's also what's making Rusty associate himself with this case. Because somebody took her in and spent a lot of money on her and dental work and all kinds of stuff and made her, whole again, made her feel like a person again. What's our favorite thing a person be saying last episode?
I'm sorry, what?
You didn't get my pirate speak. Our usual people commented, and we all appreciate them so much. We even had our first diss, and I'm really... Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to
so happy.
make a fake account and then diss us. We appreciate it. Thank you. But yeah, so everybody was pretty agreed upon the aspect that Duff wouldn't create a character, aka Orderno, without bringing them back in later in the season or having them play a larger role, which we kind of want them to. He was interesting. We want to find out more about him or why they keep going back.
Turn into a shady cop.
That'd be cool. So our question this episode was, did you feel like the scenes with Rusty talking about Alice Herrera were necessary in this episode? We want to hear what you thought about that, so put it down there.
Down there.
Next week we have Minor Incidents, episode 43, covering Major Crimes, season 4, episode 6, entitled Personal Effects, which I'm kind of excited to see, and I hope it doesn't drag like it did this time. Say no to Stro. 96. That was like I said, it was his campaign slogan for president.
Say no to Stro.
Say no to Stro. Yeah. But he wasn't elected, which...
Thank God for that.
I don't know how.
Clinton. Forever.
Clinton was...
He ran two...
It was a joke. It was a joke,
I know,
Precious.
but it was 2 terms.
2? What? No! He was there twice?
Are you, like, malfunctioning right now?
Oh, honey, that happened years ago.
You know who he should call?
Ghostbusters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I have a dog next to us tonight.
His name's Peanut. Or PTSD Peanut. Or Penis. Up to you. Whatever you want to call him. He's gonna keep doing it. So I'm gonna ignore him and pretend he's not doing anything. So I felt like it dragged it down because he's doing, because he hears the echo of our voices and he thinks it's coming from over there. That's why he's doing it. He's ridiculous.
He's PTSD Peanut.
He's PTSD Peanut. And I don't say that to be a joke, but he's been through a lot of shit, and like that's why he's PTSD Peanut. Are you good now?
He's good.
Oh. I knew he was gonna do that. He pees in basements. I don't know why. That's a lot of pee.
Jesus Christ.
Is that orange juice?
Drink more water.
Alright, go upstairs, Peen.
It's like apple juice.
Go ahead, go upstairs. I'll be up in a minute. He legit peed on the floor.
He did. It
But
sounded
like I said,
a waterfall.
Do you think it's probably on the video? Like you could probably hear it. But the thing is, he always pees in basements.
Why?
I don't know why. He did it at the old house too. Legit. Don't make a U-turn. Go upstairs.
He's incredibly smart.
He's really smart.
Look, you can see him walking up the steps in the mirror.
And Delarco, my New York Italian that I am not at all, came out.
And that he is not at all.
And he is also not at all. Gee, SMRT, smart.